Welcome to another edition of Badger Blitz TV, your Rivals.com destination for all things Wisconsin athletics. From the recruiting trail to inside Camp Randall Stadium to on the court at the Kohl Center, I'm Matt Perkins, joined as always by Rivals.com national recruiting analyst and my good friend Clint Cosgrove. Clint, we're both back home this week.
Yeah, feels weird being in the studio. I've got my makeup light in front of me, got my backdrop behind me, not at an airport. You're kind of missing out on my favorite hat ever, but you do have another banger of a hat. So we got that going.
I know. It's really unfortunate. I couldn't take the hat with me. It was at my lake house, and it kind of belongs there. That was his happy place, so that's where the hat rests, my great-grandfather. But I am wearing the hat with my favorite logo of all time, the greatest singular logo in the history of sports. The Milwaukee Brewers throwback, the M and the B in the shape of a baseball glove. It's too perfect. It's too perfect.
It is.
So,
yeah.
And plus, I'm pandering, right? I mean, I would assume that we're a mostly pro Brewers crowd around here. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying you. I'm saying our friends over in the den are. I would assume a more pro Brewer crowd, but you never know. I'm sure there's some Yankees fans out there, and I won't get into how I feel about them. One thing, though, I know right before we sat down, Clint, you just got off the phone with 2024 tight end Christian Bentancur. He's been blowing up recently. He had a visit up to Madison earlier this week. Just tell me what you see about him. I know he's a kid who has gone from nothing to a, really, really popular kid in terms of racking in offers recently.
Yeah, that's kind of what we talked about, because I was like, Christian, I was like, I mean, where did this all come from? Because during football season, I'm pretty sure you didn't have anything. He's like, I didn't. He goes, I didn't have anything through football, didn't have anything through basketball. I made one during the season visit to Iowa State, didn't have anything. He's like, all of a sudden I go to a camp, I get an offer, and now I'm sitting with 30. So he's most recent was from Clemson, who doesn't exactly recruit the Midwest, especially Illinois a lot. They did sign Toriano Pride out of East St. Louis last year, but that's Southern Illinois, a lot closer to South Carolina than the northern part of Illinois. But yeah, no, interesting story. I'll have that out probably later today or tomorrow. Just got to edit that up and put it out there. But he was great to talk to, and I'm looking forward to seeing his development. But yeah, really kind of went from absolutely nothing to 30 offers in the matter of 2 months. So,
and I got to say, dude, if the Badgers don't land him, I wonder if his dad has any eligibility left. Shout out to Ducky in the den, by the way, for that comment. His dad is a monster.
Is he really?
He's way bigger than Christian. He's way bigger than Christian. Check out his Twitter post from their visit. He's in number 88. His dad's wearing an offensive lineman number for a reason. His dad's in the number 70 Badgers jersey. It's incredible.
Oh, I think I saw him do that down at Duke, too. I thought that was another player, I think.
No, that's his father. He's enormous. Oh, my God. He is absolutely enormous.
Okay, because Christian still looks like a kid in the face. He's not done growing.
I know.
And he's 6'5", 240.
I mean, if he's 6'5", if he's really 6'5", 240, dad's 6'7", 300.
And a hulkish 300, right?
Yeah, he's not fat. He is not. He is big, wide chested, but tapers well. Prototypical 3-4 defensive end.
But if they came in the same class,
that would be hysterical. I mean, his dad's measurables might be the same as Isaiah Loudermilk. It's absolutely insane. Well, if we can't sign either Bentancur, one thing that the Badgers are going to be doing is hitting the Midwest way harder. They've been doing that recently. A lot of offers, a lot of commitments from Illinois, your territory, Illinois, Missouri. We talked about, some of the guys that you saw down at the Underclassmen Challenge in Atlanta last week. Kai and Barry Johnson, one of those guys who really stood out. The Badgers are picking up momentum in this geographical area. Give me a couple other guys that we either didn't talk about last week that you saw at camp or just really like in that 2024-2025 range from the Midwest.
Yeah, we were, like I said, we were in the airport, so we were kind of throwing things together there. But actually, there was a couple more kids that were at the underclassmen challenge. Actually, I got my gear on right now. The underclassmen challenge last week that would in the 24 class, I think would be. I don't think we touched on them. That would be great, prospects for Wisconsin. One of them being Jameer Benjamin. He is a corner out of West Bloomfield in Michigan. Heck of a player, heck of a kid. He was down at Georgia Tech when we were down in Atlanta, rolled through there, got an offer from them. Wisconsin has offered, I believe. He's a high academic kid. I think Wisconsin should be in good shape with him. Heck of a coverage guy. Great, like I said, great kid, works at it, technician. He's going to be a high 3-star, low 4-star when it's all said and done. But I think Wisconsin will, one, be in a great position for him, and two, him being an academic kid, and an engineering kid, I believe, that also, puts Wisconsin in a good spot. Josiah Edmond is a kid who's really impressed me. He was really impressive, didn't have any offers as a receiver at the Indianapolis Rivals camp, like the film, wanted to get him there, shows up, shows out, plays with the best of them. Then a couple of weeks later, he picked up a couple MAC offers. Then a little silent for a while, and then out of nowhere, boom, picks up Ole Miss, picks up Purdue. Now, the interesting thing with him was he picks up Purdue as a defensive back, and I had never even thought of him as a defensive back. And so we're down at the camp at, the underclassmen challenge, and I was, in the middle of camp, and it's 100 degrees out, 100% humidity. I'm like, throw him a corner for a play. Poor guy goes over a corner, and perfect coverage on Kyan Berry, and then that's the one that Kyan goes up and grabs with one hand. But you could just see, Josiah's reaction to it. He's like, wow, that was impressive. Give him a slap on the butt. Great job, man. And I just love Josiah, his attitude. He is offer on either side of the ball for Wisconsin, in my opinion. He can play corner. He's like 6'1", too. So he can play corner. He can play safety. He can play receiver. No brainer for Wisconsin, in my opinion.
Well, one thing I got to say, if the Badgers are going to keep up with the way Ohio State is recruiting at wide receiver, they're going to need some big, long corners to keep up with your guy, Carnell Tate. I know what Isaiah, who was
Brandon Ennis.
Brandon Ennis. I mean, whew, those are very, very impressive lists. I mean, Ohio State recruits wide receivers like no one else. So sorry to cut you off there, but that's it's ridiculous.
No. Yeah. And, those aren't going to be easy guys to cover. Going to need some bracket coverage over the top, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a whole nother topic. But no, they have killed it recruiting receivers, and you're going to need some defensive backs that are tall and can run. And, Josiah's one of them. So
definitely.
Another one would be Ace Blasey. Now, he doesn't have a ton going on. Kid from Ohio. I know you like to compare him to a recent Badger.
Yeah, man, he reminds me a lot of Scott Nelson. He reminds me a lot of Scott Nelson. Yeah. Rangy, athletic, and I think that he has really good football instincts. I mean, Nelson was starting as like a as a redshirt freshman, I think. So, I mean, 4-year starter. I mean, if you can get that out of, a kid like that's really impressive. I like him. Like, you look at him, he looks a little thin, but he seems like he's got like more of like a wiry frame almost. Like it's just like he's thin, but like he's muscular on top of like being a little bit slight.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in person, so it's total projection, but his only Power 5 offer is Iowa State. And I sit down and watch the film, and those long, rangy guys who aren't afraid to come down and hit and who can add weight to their frame. And, as we go towards, I say positionless football on defense, where we want guys who can be able to play a little bit of everything. He's got the frame to do so and the athleticism to do so as well. So really like him. I think he's another guy in that 24 class that, especially if you get on him early, biggest offer being Iowa State and a handful of Macs right now. He is a guy who I would be very interested in if I'm Wisconsin. So Wisconsin, if you're ever take a look at this, go give him a watch.
Well, one thing that we'd also want to talk about here in terms, these kids, especially the 24s, 25s, you guys are really starting to get into the nitty gritty of ranking them. It's so hard, we know, especially to project a lot of these kids. they're 16 right now. What are they going to look like when they're 21? How much are they done growing, or are they going to explode later on? Last time, we were together, we talked a little bit about that, but Badger 008 really wants us to get into the logistics of ranking them. Who determines the initial ranking? Is it like a local scout, a regional scout? And do you focus more, especially for some of these younger guys, on film, camp results, or feedback from coaches, etc.? And then how often do you guys really look back and try to re-rank, especially those kids outside of the Rivals 250?
So this is proprietary information, but I'll give you what I can. So it's an extensive process. I mean, it does start with, it's going to start with the regional national analysts. So for me, it'd be guys in my area. Now, what a lot of people don't realize is we're not out there to go and find the kids. We're covering recruiting. So I don't spend there 20 hours a day looking for the next stud like I did at my old job. Once these guys start getting recruited, start being newsworthy, start picking up offers, then we're going to start evaluating them because they are news relevant at that point. And the fans of these teams want to know more about them. They want to know where they're going to be ranked, who else is going to be recruiting them and all that. So, the first step is really, as a regional analyst, we'll sit there and we'll evaluate. One, have I seen him in person? Okay. If I have, awesome. What are my notes? How does he compare to other guys? What is his upside? What position is he going to play? All of those things. Goes on a spreadsheet. I give it an initial ranking, and a ranking that I think we start them out at. That stays on the spreadsheet. And then we will add those and reevaluate and move kids up and down within our regional analyst tab throughout the quarter. We only update our rankings quarterly, whereas some of the other services like to do it as soon as a kid gets, a big offer. All of a sudden they get an extra star or something like that. This is a long process that even for kids outside the 250, we're constantly saying, okay, are we bumping them? Are we bringing them down? Now, we would much rather bump a kid up than bring a kid down. I don't want to start a kid as a 4-star and then bring them all the way back to a 3-star. Yes, it could help them early on in their recruitment or whatnot, maybe give them a little more love or bump, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to do the best evaluation possible. And, a lot of kids early on in their recruitment will be like, how do I get my 4-star? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it's really not about where you're at right now. It's all about the final rankings. When they go into the NFL draft and they talk about what a kid was ranked, they're not like, well, as a sophomore in the second quarter of so-and-so, he was a 5.63 star. No, they talk about your final ranking. And so our goal is to make sure we have that right in the end. And it is a process. It is not a just one step. And then, so from these spreadsheets, then we'll go and we'll do a series of 8-hour meetings leading up to, 8 to 10 hour meetings. I was in Hawaii for my brother's wedding last time, getting up at 3 a.m., doing our meetings and getting done at about 11 a.m. And we will go through each and every kid that we have listed at position, give our thoughts on them, debate amongst them. Should they be higher? Should they be lower? And then after we've gone through each of the positions, we will then look at the 250 and then we'll group them together by position. Where does this guy fall within the 5.6s or 5.7s or 5.8s? Okay. What is your thought? Is this kid better than this kid? What makes him different? Have you seen him in person? Have we seen him in a camp? Have we seen him, in these different settings? So obviously there's a premium put on seeing a kid perform in person, play in person, compete in person. But you can't get to every single kid, especially if it's some random kid in South Dakota. You're not spending $1,000 to go and see them. Whereas you can spend $1,000 and go and see 50 kids in Ohio. So what you try to do with those kids is get them into a camp so you can get an in-person evaluation, put the onus on them. But this is a very deep and deliberate process. We're not just throwing things out there. And really, until that final rankings of the class, it is a very fluid process. Now, if a kid's a 5-star going into the final rankings and he's in a top, 50 player, chances are he's going to end up, in a top 30 player, chances are he's not going to end up a 3-star. But you know what? This is my first year doing this. It all really goes to how they develop. There's a lot of projecting, like you said. A lot of what I do, and especially what I did before I was in this job, before I'd actually cover the actual recruiting, when I was just evaluating, is I evaluate body mechanics for a living. I project how the body's going to develop, and I evaluate how it moves. And I try to predict, are they done growing? Okay, if they are done growing, how is that body control? How are they getting used to their frame? Are they fluid? Can they move? Because the littlest bit of stiffness or being able to transition left to right and all that, like, it makes a big difference in the long run. And when the margin of error gets so small at the college level and even smaller at the next level and even smaller when you're getting towards the Super Bowl, like, these things matter. And people talk about, why does ankle bend matter? Or, oh, they don't like how is it? That stuff does matter. And we break it all down. So this isn't just, watch the film once. We're going to throw them up on the board, give them a 5-6 and see how it plays out. Obviously, there's a lot of opinions that go into this, but this is a deep, deep dive. And especially for the guys in the top 250, like, we have to get it right. We do. Now, the NFL, they get a combine, they hire private detectives, they interview their childhood neighbors, they do all this stuff, and they still don't get it right. So, now they do get it right a lot of the time, just as we do, but, this is projecting at the end of the day. You can't project everything. You can't project kids' character changing. You can't project, there's just so many different things. So, without giving ourselves a pat on the back, I'd like to say, they do a pretty good job. This is my first time being a part of it, but when you look at the rankings versus the draft, I mean, it's pretty impressive to be able to project stuff out sometimes 7-8 years down the, out of where a kid's going to land, and they've done it successfully. So, but I think it all goes back to, like I said, they're not just throwing names on a board and seeing where they stick. Like, there's a deep dive that goes into this. And I think the evaluation process, the way they do it, probably evolves over time as well. I'll learn more about that the longer I'm here.
Awesome. Well, one thing we can project is that whenever you and I are in Madison, we're going to get hungry. We've got about 90 seconds left here. Lake Mills Badger wants to know, where are your go-to spots in Madison? I have two, but I want to hear yours first.
Okay, Lake Mills Badger, if you own a restaurant, I'm going to throw your name in there and stop by. But let's go. Mickey's Dairy Bar for breakfast. Avenue Bar, grew up going there for dinner. Taco John's in high school, go for a 6-pack and a pound on Tuesday. Sounds like my old time. College Club, a little Saturday or late night, bites. Qdoba on State Street when we all lived in the towers, when the football team was in the towers. BW3 before it became Buffalo Wild Wings. That was good. And, of course, it's always good to have it brought over at Brats. So
always.
Did I get enough in? I'm sure I missed plenty.
First of all, you got Mickey's, which is the correct answer. The other answer, though, you did not get Dottie Dumplings Dowry. If you're not going, best cheese curds in the world, best burger in Madison for my money. You can't go wrong.
Throw it to Dottie's,
and I got to shout out my people over at the Nitty Gritty. I think it is now defunct.
Oh, God. Good Lord. Yeah. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. I missed the Nitty Gritty. I used to go there for my birthday. I was there for my 21st.
Dude, I used to be a cook there. So shout out to junior year Matt for being a cook at the Nitty Gritty. Anyway, we got to run. Clint's got more guys to analyze. I've got some video editing to do. And we will see you guys in the den. Make sure that you guys are all over BadgerBlitz.com, all over Clint's Twitter and Instagram at rivals_Clint. I'm at _Perko_ on Twitter. You can find me and Matt Bergenstein, Believe in Badgers, anywhere you get your podcasts. And we will see you guys in the den.